The forgotten etiquette baby boomers lived by. Life after World War II moved at a very different pace than what we know today. There were no constant notifications buzzing, no crammed schedules, and far fewer distractions. Instead, life followed a slower, steadier rhythm, built on traditions, small courtesies, and unspoken rules that shaped each day. Baby boomers grew up in an America where family, pride, and order stood at the center, and countless little rituals stitched together the fabric of daily living. Tonight, on Back Then with Ben, we're taking a warm step into the 1950s and 1960s to revisit those daily practices, the ones that defined a generation and still echo in memory today. 1. The morning shave. Men rarely skipped their morning shave. Long before disposable razors and electric trimmers made the job fast, it was a careful ritual. Fathers stood in front of foggy mirrors, brush in hand, whipping soap into a thick lather before guiding the razor across their face with patience. The crisp sting of aftershave became the unofficial fragrance of the era, one that kids still remember. More than grooming, it was a matter of self-respect. A clean face was a clean start to the day. 2. Women setting the tone. For mothers and homemakers, mornings were about creating harmony in the household. Beds were neatly made, breakfast prepared, curtains pulled back to let in the day. Even if they didn't leave the house, many women made a point to dress neatly, add a touch of makeup, and carry themselves with dignity. It wasn't vanity, it was pride. The home was their domain, and their effort was the heartbeat that kept family life steady and warm. 3. Polishing shoes. A tin of polish, a stiff brush, and a well-used rag. These were staples in most homes. Polishing shoes was a weekly ritual, often done Saturday night before church or school the next morning. The shine on your shoes reflected not just cleanliness, but character. Fathers passed down the ritual to their sons, teaching them the value of detail and presentation. Scuffed shoes, in contrast, carried a silent judgment, careless, unprepared, or unworthy of respect. 4. Defrosting the freezer. Before frost-free refrigerators, defrosting was a dreaded but necessary task. Ice piled up on the freezer walls until food could barely fit. So, the fridge was emptied, towels spread across the floor, and hot water bowls placed inside to coax the ice away. It was messy, time-consuming, and often turned into a half-day chore. Yet homemakers took pride in it, because a well-kept kitchen was a reflection of care and order. 5. Writing letters. Handwritten letters were a lifeline. Families and friends kept in touch through pen and paper, pouring their thoughts carefully into neat script before sealing envelopes and sending them off. Around the holidays, handwritten cards, often with family updates or photographs, filled the mailbox. Each letter was treasured because it meant someone had taken the time to sit down and connect. For children, opening the mailbox and finding their name written on an envelope was a thrill that modern email simply can't match. 6. The barber and beauty shop. The barber shop wasn't just a place to get a trim. It was a gathering place where men caught up on neighborhood gossip, swapped jokes, and shared advice. The scent of talc, the buzz of clippers, and the feel of a hot towel were part of the ritual. For women, the weekly trip to the beauty parlor was just as meaningful. Roller sets, perms, and chatter with other ladies made it as much about community as it was about style. 7. The Saturday matinee. For kids, nothing beat the excitement of a Saturday afternoon at the movies. A few coins could buy a ticket to a double feature, complete with cartoons and newsreels. The theater buzzed with chatter, popcorn in hand, as kids lost themselves in worlds of cowboys, superheroes, and slapstick comedy. Parents loved it too. It meant hours of entertainment that kept children safe and happy. 8. The community potluck. Potlucks were a staple of community life. Long folding tables groaned under casseroles, potato salads, meatloaf, and brightly colored Jell-O molds. But the real flavor came from the fellowship. Adults mingled, swapped recipes, and laughed while children played outside until the streetlights flicked on. These gatherings reminded everyone that neighborhoods weren't just rows of houses. They were families tied together by food, friendship, and care. 9. The Sunday drive. With gas cheap and roads open, families often took leisurely drives on Sunday afternoons. Piling into the car, sometimes still in church clothes, they set off with no destination in mind. Maybe they stopped for ice cream. Maybe they just admired the countryside with windows rolled down. It was simple, inexpensive, and deeply meaningful. A way to connect as a family before the busy week began. 10. Reading the newspaper. The newspaper was as essential as the morning cup of coffee. Fathers often read it before work, while children scrambled for the comic section. Sunday editions were a highlight, thick with stories, coupons, and colorful illustrations. Before televisions dominated living rooms and smartphones delivered constant updates, the newspaper was how you understood the world outside your front door. 11. Ironing day. Ironing was rarely skipped. Clothes weren't tossed in the dryer and pulled out wrinkle-free. Shirts, skirts, tablecloths, even pillowcases were pressed until smooth. Many homes had a designated ironing day, with the rhythmic hiss of steam filling the kitchen. It wasn't just about neatness. It was an expression of care, pride, and the unspoken belief that even small details mattered. 12. The evening pipe. For many men, the day ended in a favorite chair with a pipe in hand. The process was slow and intentional. Packing the bowl, lighting it, puffing gently. The sweet, rich scent of tobacco filled the room, becoming part of the memory of home for many children. Unlike cigarettes, which were hurried, a pipe meant reflection, patience, and peace at the end of the day. 13. Families around the radio. Before televisions dominated living rooms, the radio was the centerpiece of family entertainment. Families gathered in the evening to listen to comedies, dramas, mysteries, or the nightly news. The voices painted vivid pictures in their imaginations. When the program ended, families often lingered at the table, talking about what they had just heard. The radio wasn't background noise. It was an event. 14. Game nights and cards. Bridge, rummy, and poker nights were a common social ritual. Couples rotated hosting duties, setting out drinks and snacks while cards were shuffled and laughter filled the room. Winning wasn't the point. The true prize was companionship. Children often watched from the sidelines, learning the games and absorbing the warmth of friendships that lasted decades. 15. Phone calls that counted. Long-distance phone calls were expensive, so they weren't made casually. Families often saved them for Sunday evenings, when the whole household gathered around the phone. Each member took a turn saying hello, sharing news, and listening. The calls were short, but they carried weight because every word mattered. 16. Keeping up with chores. Chores weren't negotiable in most households. Children learned early to make beds, sweep floors, or mow lawns. Work was expected, and it wasn't rewarded with allowance in every family. It was simply part of being responsible. These small tasks instilled discipline, respect, and a sense of contributing to the family. 17. The front porch ritual. Porches were gathering places in the evenings. Neighbors waved as they passed. Kids rode bikes up and down the block, and adults sat with lemonade or iced tea, chatting as the day cooled. The front porch was both a stage and a sanctuary where stories were told, friendships deepened, and community was lived out in plain sight. 18. Church as community center. For many baby boomers, church wasn't just a place of worship. It was the center of social life. Potlucks, youth groups, choir rehearsals, and picnics all revolved around the church calendar. Attendance wasn't questioned. It was expected. It gave families not just faith, but community, and children grew up surrounded by familiar faces week after week. 19. Seasonal rituals. Life was also marked by seasonal traditions. Spring meant washing windows and beating rugs. Summer meant lemonade stands and bike rides until dusk. Fall brought raking leaves into tall piles, while winter meant bundling up and shoveling snow before school. Each season carried its own rhythm of chores and joys, all of which left lasting impressions on baby boomers' childhoods. 20. Preserving memories. Just as baby boomers treasured photographs, home movies, and letters, today we try to preserve those memories in new ways. Old tapes and reels may fade, but the rituals they captured remind us of what mattered most: family, connection, and pride in daily life. Projects like Legacy Box keep those memories alive, ensuring that the rhythms of one generation can be shared with the next. These rituals, whether shaving at dawn, writing a letter, or piling into the car for a Sunday drive, may seem small, but together they defined an era. They gave structure to life, reinforced values of respect and pride, and wove a sense of connection that carried baby boomers into adulthood. Looking back, it's clear these weren't just chores or habits. They were the heartbeat of a generation.